recording. And I'm to introduce Marilyn Rippey, the Secretary of the Executive Board, who will be conducting this training today. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to mute anybody who comes on just because of background noises. Okay, Marilyn.
Right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Marilyn Rippey, and I am the Iowa State Secretary for P.E.O. I'm going to start off with introductions. Lisa, take the wheel.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lisa Reindl, Chapter MB of Fairfield, and I'm currently serving as president for Iowa State Chapter. We're glad you're here. Thank you.
Hi, Pam Schultz, currently serving as vice president. You can hear me, maybe not, for the cafe.
Good afternoon, everyone. Rachel Burrish, Chapter GO in lovely Decorah, and I'm currently organizer.
Jenny? Or did she freeze? Did Jenny freeze?
It appears that she is frozen.
Okay. Lisa, can you mute Jolene? She's not muted. All right, ladies, I am going to get to sharing and get moving. We want to respect your time today. So you're here because you have been honored with becoming your chapter's corresponding secretary. Can you, there it is, corresponding secretary. So this actual training is also on the international website. So if you feel like we went through this too fast or you need some extra help, I can show you where to go on the international website to get this training so you can highlight it and take extra notes if you would like to. So the first thing we want to say is thank you for accepting this role. It's so very important. It has to do with our membership records, and we need you to make sure that you are maintaining them and doing this in a timely fashion. And to keep the valid information about all of your members. So during this training, we're going to review the tools available to execute your responsibilities and also the forms and the processes to be used when reporting membership activity. So there are three key areas that we're going to look at today. We've got your tools and tips, membership records, and your annual reports, which some of you may have already done, hopefully you got to sit beside the your previous corresponding secretary to see how it is done. So, tools and tips for fulfilling your responsibilities. In this section, you will become familiar with the materials that are offered specifically for local chapter corresponding secretaries. Membership records. Keeping track of your members is one of the most important duties of your office. This section will acquaint you with the key forms and records used to ensure our membership records are current and accurate. Annual reports. By maintaining the electronic membership records throughout the year, completion of annual reports will be simplified. If you remember back in the old day, you had to fill out the form and then you had to mail it in into international, and then it got reported. And then if it got reported incorrectly, then they would send you, and you would do this back and forth, but it was all via snail mail. Now it's a click of a button. So much simplified. So, officer transition meeting. First are the tools and tips available for corresponding secretaries. A key recommendation for all officers is to participate in an officer transition meeting soon after being elected or installed. Such a meeting will enable you to become proficient in your duties more quickly by providing hands-on instructions about your responsibilities and the materials available to you. If you haven't had a transition meeting with your predecessor yet, please schedule one soon. The three key tools with which you should become familiar are this lovely purple book, the P.E.O. Constitution, instructions to, which I believe is behind your faces right now. Yes, instructions to local chapters, and it's also referred to as the IOLC. and your state, provincial, or district chapter bylaws and standing rules. In the Constitution, the duties of the corresponding secretary are noted in Part 3, Article 5, Section 5. Detailed instructions for executing these duties are found in the IOLC. The corresponding secretary section of the IOLC includes a table that specifies what needs to be done for every type of membership activity, what action is to be taken, what form is to be used, where to send the form, and what information should be confirmed before submitting the form. Both the Constitution and the IOLC are available on the P.E.O. International website. Nearly all of the forms required for your office are available in the resources section of the P.E.O. website.
Marilyn, excuse me.
Yep.
Did you mention putting questions in the chat as they have them?
I am so sorry I did not. So ladies,
Thank
if you
you.
have questions as I'm presenting this information, go ahead and hit down at the bottom of your screen is a chat button. It has a little bubble with 3 dots in it, and you can click on that. It's just to the right of your video button, or it should be. Tips. Your corresponding secretary's monthly report. Now that we've reviewed the tools available, you know what? I want to go back really quick. I want to share. I'm still sharing, but I'm only sharing the, I want to share this. Let me talk myself through it. So I went and clicked on the international website. If you go up to resources and you click resource library. So I'm on the main page of the international. I clicked resources. I go to resource library. Do you see how it becomes maroon with the beautiful daisy? If I click on that, it takes me to this page. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you have a search and filter. I'm sorry, it's on your left-hand side. I always just skip the topic and go straight to search. And if I just type in corresponding and then I hit return, it comes up with all of these resources for the corresponding secretary. So when in doubt, go to your resources. If you don't know, go to your resources. This is one of the easiest ways to find information about what you need for your P.E.O. job. Now, if I go to the Iowa website, I'm going to do the same thing. This is our home page. I go down to resources. It's the green. Again, we've got it the same as international. It's on the left-hand side of the page. You click the green. I'd also like to really quick draw your attention to here's updates and reminders. Is your chapter reading those updates and reminders at your meetings? That's correspondence from your president, your state president every month. Are you guys making sure those updates and reminders are being read at your chapter? And here's how you upload your yearbooks. Here's how you can upload your bylaws. And here's how your president can upload their letters. If you have any questions about those, just email me and I'll help you work through that. So go over to the green, you see the green resources, you click on it, and then you can go over here. Here's chapter, officer, and committee information forms. There is a whole corresponding secretary and forms for you to help you in your job. I think one of the biggest things is introduction of a woman, not a P.E.O. I love that one. We need to have more people filling those out. Remember, part of your job as corresponding secretary is to help the membership of P.E.O. There is your instructions to officers of local chapters. I always have this pulled up because it seems we always have questions. And as a wise woman, Lisa Reinhold told me once, this is the best way to answer any questions is if you have your bylaws. Again, under your resources, there's your Iowa bylaws. There is your P.E.O. Constitution. again in your resources for PEO on just your state website. Okay, now I will go back to our slideshow. Let's, there we go. There we go. Share. Yay. Sorry, I'm a little slow on the. Now I get to go back to where we are. I wanted to take that side adventure with you because it was so very, very important that you understand where to find those resources, because knowing where those resources are cut down on wait time for you to get your questions answered, right? Okay. Now that we've reviewed the tools available for corresponding secretaries, let's discuss some tips for performing your duties. The corresponding secretary's monthly report to the chapter is given only at the first regular meeting each month, but correspondence is read at every regular meeting. When reading correspondence, state the name of the sender before reading the text. All electronic correspondence received by the corresponding secretary may be distributed to the entire chapter prior to the meeting. You would make reference to these in your report and read or review correspondence not received electronically. Please provide correspondence requiring chapter action to the president. For the monthly report, if no correspondence was sent and or received, the appropriate report is no correspondence was sent and or no correspondence was received. Each year after you receive the release from the SBD chapter secretary or paid assistant, so when you receive it from Don Gibson, read the annual report to your chapter, noting the final membership count. Report to your chapter the total number of active members, the number of members becoming inactive, and any other membership changes. When a member transfers to another chapter, the PEO membership department will send an email to her previous chapter as notification of this transfer. When received, this notification letter must be read at the next regular meeting. The transfer out date, which is indicated in the notification letter, is to be recorded on the membership roster, which will be discussed later in this training. Reinstatement. It's important to note that a letter of acceptance for an invitation to transfer and or a letter of reinstatement is read as the last item of correspondence. Her reinstatement date is the date the reinstatement fee is received by the chapter. The receipt of the fee is usually considered the date it is presented to a chapter during a business meeting. For a combined reinstatement transfer, the date the acceptance to transfer letter is read to the chapter is noted as the official transfer in date on the member update form and annual report. Please note a reinstatement letter should be read only when the reinstatement fee has been received. The annual report will be explained later in the session. Okay. Membership records. As we begin to discuss membership records, it's important to note that the member ID number is the only number used to track PEO members. The slide indicates where member ID numbers may be found on the PEO record. So if you see right here, this is your PEO ID number. The glossary section of the IOLC outlines the additional ways to determine the member ID number. These numbers are a critical component for all membership records, including annual reports, and they are required for ordering supplies and when registering for convention of international chapter. You can also type in the member ID search as well, and we can show you that. Oh, look, guess what we're doing right now. Okay, member ID. Member ID numbers can also be found by using the member ID search on the PEO International website. So you would type in their first name, their last name, and their chapter, and then what chapter they're from. And I have helped different sisters look up look up names in Iowa. And so if you know their last name, you can look up their number. And it was for reporting a new member in your area for another person. Uh-oh. There we go. The following 3 documents are the core items used for tracking and reporting your chapter's membership. You have the member update form, the chapter membership history, which is a CMH, membership roster, and these documents are essential for maintaining accurate membership records. Details about each of these documents are provided again in the IOLC. And a show of hands, how many of you have seen these items or know these items? Yes, no, maybe thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay. Our membership records, our member update form. The member update form is used to notify the P.E.O. membership department of all membership activity in your chapter, including a member's change in name and/or address and/or email address. This is the only form used for this purpose. It's important to expeditially submit this form to the membership department by using the online form to ensure our membership records are accurate. Before submitting the member update form to the membership department, it's essential that the appropriate entries are made in your membership records. Okay, it's the only form used for this purpose. If the P.E.O. membership department receives a change of address submitted directly by a member, a notification email will be sent to the corresponding secretary. And that's something that's different now than from when I was corresponding secretary, because before the corresponding secretary had to fill all the information out, but now the members can fill that information out online. And it makes your job just a little easier. The notice of member in your area. This is one we love to use. A chapter member moves and wishes to transfer to another chapter. We do not want to lose a sister. So when we move, we need you to make sure that you are sending notifications out to the area chapters. Fill this out so we can notify the area chapters of where your sister has moved to, and we can make contact with her. We do not want to lose a sister because they've moved. When a member of your chapter moves and wishes to transfer to another chapter, the corresponding secretary takes an additional important step to make sure the member is contacted by P.E.Os in her new location. In addition to submitting her new address and email address on the member update form, notice this above, you will complete the notice of member in your area. Okay, the good old CMH, the chapter membership history. The chapter membership history record replaced the chapter's general enrollment book, which is to be retained in your corresponding secretary's supplies for the life of the chapter. The CMH is provided by the membership department and must be kept in your corresponding secretary files for the life of the chapter. The CMH record lists all P.E.Os who have been a member of your chapter, except those who died prior to 1980. Information about chapter members who died prior to 1980 may be found in your retired general enrollment book. No entries are made on this CMH. It serves solely as your chapter's historical record of membership. An updated copy will be provided by the membership department upon request. However, it's recommended that requests for updated copies of the CMH not be made in increments less than 5 years. And I believe that we bring the CMH to our official visits? No. Okay, I just wanted to double check that. Our membership roster. Okay, this is the one we do. Another record, the membership roster, provides membership details for your chapter that complement the information provided in the CMH. The membership roster record is a printout of your chapter members who were living during the past PEO fiscal year. It includes details of membership activity that occurred during that year, including initiations, transfers in and transfers out, deaths, reinstatements, and the member's name, address, and email address. This should be printed by the chapter corresponding secretary once the chapter has been released by the SBD. Okay, so you should print this out when you get the email saying that your report has been released. Oh, lovely, lovely annual reports. The annual report is to be submitted by March 10th. A very important part of your role as corresponding secretary is completing this report. Due to the significance of this report, a separate training video is available for you on the P.E.O. International website. Okay. All right. I know you guys are excited. So, on your annual report, in addition to completing the annual report, you'll complete other duties as part of the annual report process. Corresponding secretaries must provide input on 3 additional records. During odd-numbered years, a 4th record may be required. As such this year, entries by the following reports must be submitted online by you or by your chapter technology contact. Report of election of officers for local chapters. Even if officers continue for another year, a report must still be entered for the new PEO year. If your officers change mid-year due to a vacancy, you will need to update this information at that time. And guys, this is so very, very important. We found out last year that if you don't update that, then your information's not there. And then we have to track you down and bug you about it. So please make sure that you report your officers to international. It is of utmost importance. That's how you continue to get your updates and reminders and your information from your state officers. Okay, very important. Your local chapter report of project chairs, your state provincial district convention delegates and alternates, and your nominee for delegate to convention of international chapter, which is select chapters in odd-numbered years only, right? Which we have right now. These reports can be found on the PEO International website in the resources section. You need only the member ID numbers of the respective members. After submitting the member ID numbers, the contact information that appears on the screen for the respective members must be verified. You will be prompted on screen during this process. Be certain to click submit before leaving the screen. I think that's one of the biggest things. We forget to click that one little button, and then everything, you click out of it and it's gone. And you think you did your job and you didn't. So we want to make sure you click submit. If you do not click submit, your entries will not be saved. Okay, very important. We need a little post-it during annual report times that says, did you click submit? So that way you get it done. So you want to keep these items together. You know, if we go back here just a second. When you report your election of officers, and if you need to have your membership name, it would probably be best if you had your list of officers and you put their membership ID, if you wrote those beside their names. So then when you're going, you're not having to go back and forth. If you have it listed out and then you wrote your membership ID numbers beside those, that might be something helpful for you to ease in doing your report. Something to think about. Okay. Of these membership records, the following: chapter member history, your membership roster must be kept in the corresponding secretary files. Okay. Although the general enrollment book is no longer used to record membership activity, it must also be kept in the corresponding secretary's files for the life of the chapter. Trainings for other officers are available and can be found on the P.E.O. International website in the resources section. How many of you, your officers, have done you've made use of the international training? If you hold your thumb up long enough, it'll respond. Your thing will respond. How many of you have looked at your international training? Okay. Again, you can use your resources. If you have questions, you need help, click on those resource buttons. I need to read things and I need to highlight things and I want to print it out. And you can do that with your resources from the international website. Okay. So, tools and tips for fulfilling your responsibility. Most of the instructional materials and forms you need to fulfill your duties are available on the P.E.O. International website. Do you see a popular theme here with that? Resources, use your resources. Become familiar with information regarding corresponding secretary duties provided in the Constitution, the IOLC, and the state provincial district chapter bylaws and standing rules. So very, very important. Oh, I keep hitting the wrong button. User. Our membership records. 3 membership records are vital for corresponding secretaries. It's essential that membership activity be reported timely on the member update form. Become familiar with and learn the differences between the chapter membership history, the membership roster records. The accuracy of your chapter's membership records depends on your efficient management of these records. So we have the member update form, the chapter membership history, and the membership roster, right? Membership roster is the one that you have to print off after Dawn says our reports have been released, okay? Annual reports. The annual report is completed every March and submitted electronically. The election of officers and delegates to conventions and the appointment of project chairs are reported online by you or your chapter's technology contact. The time you are committing to serve as your chapter's corresponding secretary is greatly appreciated. So thank you for making this commitment to your chapter and for your dedication to P.E.O. Of course, if you have any questions about the procedures of your office, you can contact one of us. And if your chapter is a you're going to contact one of us. We're not in a non-chartered territory. Ladies, please, if you have questions and you've gone to the international website and you've clicked on resources and you've read through your IOLC and you've read through your Constitution and you've looked at your bylaws and you're still not seeing what you need, please contact us, right? Please ask questions. It's very important. We want you to be informed. It's important to know where our members are and how to contact them. So we can continue to inform you about important things that are coming your way through P.E.O. I'm going to stop sharing so I can see your beautiful faces. And what kind of questions do we have today? That was a lot of information. I feel like I did a lot of talking and we didn't do any turn. I'm used to having very engaging lessons at school and not letting you turn and talk to your neighbor that we're doing some fun whiteboard activity. It's kind of killing me inside. But what kind of questions did we have in the chat, Lisa?
We have one from Cindy. Cindy asks, what is the process when a transfer from an inactive chapter, which has been inactive for a number of years? Do you want to take that? Or do you want me to?
That'd be a reinstatement. She would do a reinstatement and then she would we would transfer. Even if it was from the old chapter, it would be a reinstatement transfer. And then you would report that she did a reinstatement.
I think there's a little bit of a clarification that comes into play. I've had people confused with this. So if you're talking about a disbanded chapter member, when a chapter disbands, women that were members of that chapter can continue to pay their state and international dues directly to Don Gibson. So they are what is called an active member of a disbanded chapter. So if you have someone from a disbanded chapter that wants to transfer to your chapter, the first question is to ask her, are you still an active PEO or did you go inactive? And just exactly like Marilyn said, if they are actually inactive, then they have to reinstate and transfer. If they are active, it's a simple transfer. There is a flow chart in the corresponding secretary's instructions of officers of local chapters that does an illustration of the exact steps of transfer, reinstatement, and transfer reinstatement combined. It's a beautiful document. There she goes. Keep going down. I think it's in there. There it is.
So you would invite the acceptance letter. Here's the reinstatement. The inactive member wanting to reinstate notifies chapter. Again, she wouldn't notify her chapter if it had been disbanded. Okay.
And the third one is the combo. Yeah. Cindy, please unmute and let us know if we did or did not answer your question. And Marilyn, I'm kind of wondering, since we have a little bit of a smaller group, if people are not comfortable with using the chat, maybe they want to just ask their question. Jolene Porter put in the chat, Cotty College chair question mark. Are you asking about reporting the Cotty College chair? I don't think that's in the list of chairs to report there. Jenny, can you answer? Do they report that person on the Cotty website?
No, they do not. That's just an internal chapter person, I guess I would say, that they appoint to help support or look for Cotty in any way, or do a report on Cotty, but that does not get reported anywhere outside of just their local chapter.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you. I hope that, Jolene, that answered your question. I'm going to add a couple of things, Marilyn, just because this year was unique. They changed the annual report process again, and I don't know how many of you are brand new recording or corresponding secretaries, or if you have done this job before, but starting this year, your job is not a part of the March 1 through March 10 process. Your job now is done between February 1st and February 24th because your job is just to make sure data is correct. Names, phone numbers, email addresses. So then when it goes to the actual process for annual reports, it is now just the treasurer and the president. The other point I wanted to make, Marilyn, if you don't mind, is this reporting of the election of your local chapter officers. This too got changed this year. They changed what kind of a system they're putting this through. And what we learned is you, as a new corresponding secretary, are not assigned to that task. Your old corresponding secretary has been assigned to that task. Your president should be able to do that task. And your treasurer, I think they're trying to get your technology chair to be able to do it too. But the point is, if you go in and try to do that, it might not work because you probably aren't assigned to that. If you have troubles, email any of us or Don Gibson. And just so you know, again, if you're fairly new, you might not. To get a hold of any of the state officers by email, you can just email our title, president@peoiowa.org. Or if you want to do it to Marilyn, secretary@peoiowa.org. On the Iowa website is the directory and how to find us. On the left-hand side of the home page, it's under Leadership tab. And you'll find all your state committees, everything there.
I will take you there now. You said,
Check out the leadership tab on the left.
okay, on the leadership tab, purple, it's underneath the resources.
Right there.
If
Executive
you-
board, and then all the other boards and committees. Well, that's one way. You don't need to read all our bios. There's also a directory somewhere. But that's how to
Yeah,
get a hold of us. Yes, right there.
it's here, it's boards and committees.
There you go.
And that has our directory right here. And then it
Nice
goes
thing to
through.
print off and have handy.
Great handout at convention. Another reason to go to convention to get that beautiful handout.
Okay, we
When
have
you
another question in the chat. Marilyn, when Dawn releases our report, will there be a link for us to obtain the membership roster? Also, our chapter meets. Well, let's answer that question first. I think, I don't know the exact answer to that, but I'm under the impression from what I've been hearing this year that you can log in to your annual reports for a certain period of time. Pam or Jenny, do any of you know what I'm talking about here?
I think they have to go back after they get the release from Dawn. I think you have to go back into where you completed your annual reports, but it's a short window that doesn't last forever. So as soon as that release comes, I don't think it lasts more than maybe 2 to 3 weeks that you need to go in and download that chapter membership roster.
And if that doesn't work, if you miss that window, you're gone or whatever, you can request that report from one of your state officers, one of us, or the membership department at the international offices in Des Moines. Membership at peodsm.org. And her second part of her question was also, our chapter meets the second Monday of the month, so March meeting can be as late as March 13th. Is it not possible to meet a March 10th deadline? These annual reports have to be done through March 1st and March 10th. There's nothing that needs to be a meeting to get those done. They're all done online.
When it comes to reporting your officers, you don't have to wait until they're installed.
And
I
you
think
do not have to report your officers by March 10th. That is not a annual report deadline of March 10th, but we want you to do it or else we have to track you down, which we had over 80 chapters we had to track down last year.
Right. And no, your new corresponding secretary would not have been allowed to report the new officers. It would have had to have been you, the previous record or corresponding secretary.
These could be the new ones, though.
Do you
These
see?
people could have been just installed. My issue as 24-25 corresponding secretary was our election was on March 10th. So I came home after our night meeting and had to enter our election of officers, delegates, and project chairs. Our new CS could not get into the website yet to enter info. Exactly, that's what I just said. They assigned it to the 24-25 corresponding secretary. If somebody just got elected and installed in 25 for the 25-26 year, she cannot access that report. Something we did not know until the last minute either. Okay, I see you, Marla. Does that make sense? Ring true to you then? Okay, good.
And we did advocate for you. We'd like to say that we had enough responses from people and the frustrations that we emailed International, or Lisa rather, emailed International on our behalf and said, hey, this is not working for our chapters. How do we make this better for them? So.
And their answer is the president should have been able to do it. The old corresponding secretary, and I don't know, have an email open, but I think she said the treasurer too. Anybody else that was doing annual reports. And I think they plan to open it up even further because we, as state board members, last year we went in and did a whole bunch of them just because people couldn't get into the system and figure it out. So they would just tell us who their officers were. I do want to mention though, the report of election of officers, and Marla, maybe you can agree, it's a little easier. They want more information now. They want to know what time of day you meet. They want to know if you're meeting in person or hybrid. So they're gathering more data, which can only help people find chapters that are a fit. But you didn't have to have their member number. Their names popped up as being a possibility. All I did is type in the first name, and our chapter has 3 Debbies, and it popped up the 3 Debbies, and I picked which one got the office. So there is some upside to the new process. I don't see anything else in the chat. Anybody else want to unmute and ask some questions?
Well, ladies, we really appreciate the work that you do, and we appreciate that you are willing to serve in this role. Being in charge of your membership roster is very important for PEO. This is how we communicate with sisters. This is how you get your updates and reminders to your president. Right now, we currently send updates and reminders to the president and to the technology committee chair. And if you could make sure that your technology committee chair and your president are two different people, or encourage your chapter to make sure that that happens, that would be wonderful as well. That way we make sure that chapters are getting that information. It's very important. We're trying to make sure that we're sharing with you and getting all this information to you every month instead of waiting and doing quarterly mailings. Communication is key. It's how you survive as an organization. It's the best way to get information out to people. So please make sure that your rosters are updated and correct. And a great thing to do is to go through and have your members check their email addresses. Because even as the corresponding secretary and the person that did the yearbook one year, I put my email address wrong in the yearbook. Oops. So it happens to everybody. So please make sure that you're getting that information shared. Does anybody have anything else?
Just remember, we as an executive board are here to make sure you understand your job and that you are able to do what you can. We have one more question here. Our president distributes the monthly updates. Should that be included in my monthly report? Not necessarily, because it was sent to the president. We just liked another officer kind of double checking, because we go out on these official visits, and I personally have noticed that they're not always getting shared. And it's stuff that's important for everybody, not just the president. So. No, your monthly report would be something like, I use the manage membership form online and reported the move of Susie. I reported the election of officers, or my previous corresponding secretary reported the election of officers and the delegate and alternate to convention. Or I sent a letter of invitation to Susie. Or I sent a letter to invite transfer to such and such. That's what goes on that monthly report.
Okay. Well, thank you, lady.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Hey, anything. She says, I understood the report was to include email notices. So as long as you're sharing that information in general, you don't have to include it in your report. No.
Yeah, if you received an email notice, you need to report that. I guess is clarifying what Marilyn said earlier about email notices. Like if you hear something from the membership department in Des Moines via email about confirmation or something like that, that you can share, that you should probably share.
Yes. Okay. What our next training is it next Saturday? All of a sudden I've forgotten.
Tuesday the 25th is the next one. Yes, Tuesday the 25th is treasurer, and then Sunday the 30th is president and vice president.
Yes, 25th at 7, the 30th at 4.
Very good. I'm going to stop the recording now, Marilyn.